Today it will be all about Pest and the version 2 release. But before I show you all the nice features Pest got to offer, first I want to show you why I actually use Pest, why I switched from PhpUnit. And for this, I have here a simple application. You will see a Laravel application with one test in it. So let's open the test. As you can see, we have here 16 lines or 70 lines of code. And it's a typical PhpUnit test. So we have namespace here, a class that's extending the class with the test case. Then we have the name that has to start with test. And the application returns a OK response. And the test is pretty simple. We're doing just a GET request and checking the status and see the text Laravel. So let's run this one in with PhpUnit. And we will see this output. It's pretty basic. I think most of you know that, how the output is. It will tell which version we are running from Sebastian, the runtime, where the configuration lies, and yeah, it's pretty good information. Let's see what Pest is actually doing. When we run Pest, we actually see a bit more information than before. We can see which file is actually run the test, what's the name of the test, how long did the test actually run. So we see each single test, how long it was run, and we get the overall duration and the assertions, how many they're made. Okay, this is now not that groundbreaking as you can see. So let's go. What's happening actually when we see an error? So when we run this, and there's actually an assertion error, you will see that PhpUnit provides us with like a stack trace. We have to first parse what's actually going on. It's hard to find where is the problem. And when we run this now with Pest, you will see Pest gives us a clear, well-defined structure of the error message. So we see failed asserting that 300 is identical to 200. And the best part is we see which file is it actually and on which line. It will direct us directly to the line here on lines 13. Okay, that's pretty cool. But Pest got even more to offer. When we do now something like this, Laravel Switzerland, and the string does not exist, let's see what actually PhpUnit provides us for feedback. When we run now this, oh man, what's actually going on? We have now to parse this. Okay, we have HTML as you can see here, then we have contains, Laravel Switzerland, the stack trace, and when we scroll all the way up, okay. It looks like that it says failed asserting that, and then it's pasting the whole HTML document just to say us, hey, it's missing the string. I think we can get it better. So let's try it with Pest. If you do it with Pest, you will immediately see we don't have to scroll anymore, because Pest is just showing the first 3 lines of the HTML document, and the rest is just hidden because that's information that's actually not required, because we know, the string is not available in the HTML document. And it will point us to the error as well, as you can see here. And if you fix that, everything gonna work as well. And only just for this reason, because of the output, I would prefer to use Pest and not PhpUnit. Just because the output is so much clearer, more nicer, less noisy, let's say it like that. And as you can see, I did not have to change my PhpUnit test. It's working with Pest. And that's nice because Pest is a subset or a superset, I don't know how to call it. It's running with PhpUnit right away. So you just need to write composer, require pest.php. Okay, I can type pest.php and pest and ignore the rest here. And if you hit that, you can just run Pest and it will automatically work with your current PhpUnit settings. That's pretty cool. Okay. But that's not all. We can even refactor the test now to make it more Pest-like. Because with Pest, we don't need all this boilerplate here. We can just remove that. And Pest brings us a global function that's called test. So let's go with that. That requires 2 parameters. One is a string for the name of the function, and then a callback. Let me make this nice now for us. Change it like this. Change the casing here. And that's everything we got to do. Now the test is running with Pest, and we reduced the file size to half of it. Before we got 16 lines, now we are just to 8 lines of code. And it's doing the same test as before. And that's pretty amazing. So that's like why I actually fell in love with Pest.php, why I love using it. And but that's everything that version 1 also got to offer for you. Let's jump into it and let's see what version 2 got to offer for us. Okay, first of all, I want to show the coverage flag. Woo, that's it. You just have to write coverage. No external file anymore, no HTML or XML that you have to pass. You get just the coverage here out. That's pretty cool because I have just one test. It's a pretty low coverage. And it works very great with your CLI. So if you want a high coverage of your application, let's say 90% or something like that, you can do that. And it says now, it's failing because the coverage is now below 90%. And that's pretty cool. That's like out of the box was what Pest 2 offers. You just have to enable Xdebug or anything like that so to get this working. Okay. One other nice feature is that we have like a watch flag now. The watch flag now looks into your Pest files, into your PHP files, and always looking if something is changed. So if you change something, like here to 300, you will see the test is now automatically running here. Failed asserting that 300 is identical to 200, or if you change this to 400, it will always refresh. And that's pretty cool if you do like in TDD lifecycle, like when you test-driven development, you just have your terminal open with the watch flag and it will always run your test and always rerun, and then you can see when it's green and then you're good to go. And that's pretty cool. I like this feature a lot because you can use it with filter, just filter down to a single test and stuff like that. Okay, so far any questions to this thing? Yeah.
Coverage feature.
Coverage feature, yeah.
Do you need to install some Xdebug or
yeah. So actually you need to install Xdebug here. And then let me see if I can find it here in your configuration file.
Set that up correctly.
Yeah, you have to enable it with the Xdebug mode just to coverage and then it's working. And that's everything you got to do. So it's a bit of setup, but I think you can handle that. Yeah, because there are a lot of articles also out there how you can enable Xdebug. I think this should be no problem. Okay, the next part is pretty nice because this test is now very easy. Can't we make it more easy? So let me show you one way how you can do that. Actually with Pest we can chain everything together. So when we do it something like this, we chained it now together when we run this. It's working. And the nice part is that we can even get rid of the closure here. Chain it like this here. It's working. And that's not all. We can even get rid of the test function here. Only thing is that we got now to import something. Okay. That's maybe, but it's working as well here. And there's even more refactors. We can just put an OK here. And that's it. It's like a single line of code. We do now an very strong test. We are testing like, is this page actually loading? Does it return a 200 back? So we can, we have a lot of static pages, like maybe the forgot password page or something like this. And that's easy to write like test to just test if your static pages and stuff are actually returning something valid that the user can use. And if you run it, you will see it's still working. And I think that's like the first test I'm writing in every application is just to check, hey, are the pages actually returning a 200 back to me? Because it's so valuable that I have that and it cost me like, I don't know, 4 seconds to write it. And it's pretty easy. So I would recommend everyone to start, if you want to start with testing, that's like the easiest way to get started with it. Okay, so far any questions? Okay, for the next one, I'm gonna add a few test cases because I want to demonstrate something. I have now some tests added and it takes now quite some time to get it running because now I added more tests and it takes around 4 seconds to run. And you will see I have a lot of tests and they're running pretty fast, but I want to see is there any test that's actually slow running. So we have a new flag that's called profile. What profile is doing is that it will output the 10 slowest test on the bottom, as you can see here, the 10 slowest test, and it will tell me that the slowpoke test here is running 2 seconds and every other test is actually running pretty fast. So let's look inside it. What's actually happening? So it looks like there's some sleep inside it. So let's remove it. And when we run it again, now the test suite will be run much faster. As you can see, it just took 2 seconds and the slow test is now gone. It's now fast. And that's pretty cool. And if you do something like, yeah, and now the output is actually getting pretty noisy. And one way to get it less noisy is like to use the compact mode. So we are back again to the PhpUnit output with the ... But it's nice if you got thousands of tests running, you don't want to list every test of it, so you can use just the compact flag. Or a nice way is if you go into Pest configuration, you can just tell, hey, please use the compact mode, and now we can just remove the flag here, and voila, the clean compact output is now generated for us automatically, and we don't have to always use the flag for it. But for the demonstration here, we're gonna skip it. And the nice part is there's even things like to do. So if you run this now, you will see that we have like one to do left here to mark or stuff like that. And if you, let me go back and show this again here in the compact mode. Because in the compact mode, it will show S&T now. And if you go to the slow test here, and maybe change this now, and let's make this test fail. And the nice part is, if this is now failing, it will show us here like an X, that the test is failed here. And the cool part is we have now a retry command. And it's only retrying the failed test that did, because when you have a large set, you're testing locally, and maybe 3 tests are failing, you can just use the retry flag now, and only the failed jobs are gonna run again, failed tests. As you can see, we have 200 pending, and if you run it again, it will always rerun just the failed test. And now the magic, if you go do it, make it pass again, and run retry, it will retry the failed test. If they worked, it will run all the other tests as well. So that's pretty cool. So we can use then the retry, and we will see everything is working after we fixed it. Okay, let's comment this out now. So far, any questions? Okay, I got one more nice thing for you now. I think this will really cool. Let's add a new test, because I'm always struggling with things like comparing 2 dates if they are similar. So let's write a test and get that working good. Test that 2 dates are the same. Okay, let's go with it. You're gonna say date, it's gonna be today. And then how can we actually do that? It would be nice if you could do something like this. It will be today. So we have now April the 20th. And if you run this with a filter date test, you will see, oh man, it's not working. So let's see what's actually happening. It tells us that failed asserting that the carbon object is identical to the date string. So that makes sense, because we can't compare a date with a string. Okay, how can we maybe solve this? One way to do that is to cast this to a date string. And if you run this again, you will see, it's running, great. But my problem is sometimes I want to just put an object here, a date object here inside, and run it as well. I don't want to think about it. Is it a string or whatever? I just want to put a date string or an object inside and date object inside, and it should work. But it doesn't work here. But the nice part is the carbon interface provides us with a isSameDay method. So if you go here, isSameDay, and then we can go grab this and make to be true. This should now work again, because we are checking is this the same day. Okay, let's run it. And both tests are passing. So it's great. We are using a date string or an object to compare the date, and it's working. But there's now one tiny, not so nice thing about it. When I change this now, and the dates aren't the same, it's outputting me, hey, failed asserting that false is true. And yeah, it's like, okay, now I have to go back, pass again. What's actually happening here? Why is false not true? But the nice part is with Pest v2 we can say failed asserting that two dates are the same. But we have to now add it here. This works for sure. When we do that, it says failed asserting, okay, this one. Failed asserting that two dates are the same. But now I have to actually put it in every to be true call. Wouldn't it be nice if I could do something like this? So let's try something that I love doing. It's programming by wishful thinking. It's like the best concept I ever encountered in my life. And it's really great. So let's do something like this. Can't we get something like this working? Where we say, hey, it should be just today, to be day, and we can pass a string or an object inside it. So let's remove that and let's run it again. So we want this to be working. So what's actually happening? Now we get an error. Method to be day does not exist. Bummer. But don't worry, Pest got you. We can now go to the Pest configuration. Let me make this a bit bigger here. And we can say expect, and then we can extend actually the expectation API. And we can say to be day. So we are now extending it. And if you go here up and just copy this one and put it back here down. Okay, let's go and uncomment it. Oh. Okay, let's go with that. And then we have to format it. But now we can't just use date here. The nice part is with Pest we can just use this value. And this value will be the date that we are passing in with expect. And the expected value is actually here coming as value. And we can say just value here. So both values are now in our extended function. And if you run this now again, ta-da! It's working! Magic! But you can already do that with version 1. The extend library is already there. So wouldn't it be nice, because we are programming by wishful thinking, just to do to be. Actually, we can do that. Let's go to our configuration again here. Because now with version 2, Pest ships the Intercept API here. The Intercept requires 3 parameters. First, which expectation do we want to intercept? So we want to intercept it to be expectation. Okay. At next we have a filter. But let's do it later, because we're going to do the handler first. Because the handler is actually pretty easy, because we can just copy this function here out of this. Okay. Does this work? Yeah, this should work. And that's everything we got to do for the handler, because there are 3 parts. First we have the name we want to intercept. The next we have the filter. When should the interception actually happen? This must return a true or false value. True or false here. And then we have the handler. And that's actually the code that is run, like in the extend here. So how we can actually achieve that? The nice part is that this actually has a callback as well. And the Carbon interface, Carbon object also does provide us with a pass object. So we can actually pass here the expected value. So if you go that, but now how do we get the expected value? The filter provides us with 2 values as parameter. First we have the value, that's the date here we get from the expect. That's the value. And the second one is the expected, what's that? No. Expected value. That's what we pass into the to-be call. Okay, now we have both. And the nice part is we can just wrap this now in a try and catch. And every time that's an invalid format exception is thrown, we will just return a false, because then it should not intercept this call and go with the default way. Otherwise, we say it should intercept it. So let's format this a bit so it's more nice. So let's run it again and let's hope it's working. Okay, drum rolls, and woo, it's passed. And that's like a real nice feature that Pest version 2 got to offer. We can intercept every API from the expectation API. And it's pretty cool. To make this a bit more realistic for your production application, you have to actually do some if checks. So if the value that we are comparing is not an instance of Carbon interface, then we never want to do this check. Because I only want to check if these are two dates, if the left side, so the date, is actually in Carbon interface. So we can just skip the, because the parse takes a bit longer than just to check the instance of a value. And the nice part is, if the second value is also a Carbon object, also we can go this one, I mean the expected value, we can just return a true as well, because now we are passing, like on line 13 here, we are passing a Carbon object, and we are expecting a Carbon object. So if both are Carbon object, we can say, hey, you want to check if the both dates are the same. So that's like a pretty cool way how you can extend or intercept the expectation API. Okay. Any questions? I know it was pretty fast currently. Huh? No? Okay, because that's like everything I got today for you for the Pest 2 release. There are much more features available, like the architecture plugin. That's like pretty cool. There you can do stuff like that no global DD functions are present in your application, or that you don't want to use facades, whatever. But you can program it for the architecture plugin that you don't use facades in your application or stuff like that. But I think that will be too much to explain now for this talk today. And yeah, if you got no questions, thank you for your time. And I hope you could learn one or two things. Thank you.